Hi, welcome to the 127th episode of my podcast. I couldn't get my microphone in the screen. It's down here. I mean, it'll be down here where you can't see it. Just so you know, I'm still a podcaster, even though you can't see my microphone in the camera. I still recorded it. I can use the audio for from my camera or from my microphone. I record it a couple of ways, and two ways I record it at once, and I can use either one of them. I'm happy today because of let's see how long my joy lasts. Because of my because March Madness is happening starting tomorrow. And the 4 days between Selection Sunday, which was this past Sunday, and when March Madness starts, which is Thursday tomorrow, that's the happiest I am the entire year. Of course, unless I do hard drugs, but then, or whatever it is. That's the happiest I'm going to be the entire rest of the year. I'm just trying to live off of this high. It'll be gone in a few days, and it's very exciting. But I just hopefully it's not just the enthusiasm of March Madness. That's why. Hopefully that's not the reason why I'm excited, even though I know that's part of it. I hope that I can carry this energy even when March Madness isn't happening. Like, I need that drug, unfortunately. I need to smoke some March Madness in order to have any joy in my life. And, you know, that's what it's like when your life is somewhat depressing. But, you know, it's like you say the word depressing and people get, like, nervous, like, something bad is happening. Like, oh, wow, like you said the word depressing or something like to describe your life. Like, oh, whoa, that's totally too far for people. Like, don't say depressing. We're not trying to have that energy around or whatever. But it's like people just take your words too fucking literally. Like, you say something and then people are like, oh wow, does that mean that he really thinks something sad about himself or whatever? Like, I call myself a retard, and then people are automatically like, oh, does he really think he's a retard? Or something like that. At least if I say it on stage. That's what I live to do that. I live to say retard on stage. That's why that's why I get up on stage to do it, is to like refer to myself and others as retards or whatever. You know, bring it back, bring it around. I was thinking about The Office and how the biggest lie of the show The Office is that Michael Scott becomes good in the end. And in real life, somebody who is that narcissistic never gets better. Like, what a happy ending for a guy that's like completely unaware, like completely lost. A guy like that, the way that Michael Scott is in the beginning of the show, somebody like that in real life never recovers. That they're like that horrible. For somehow he became like a really well-adjusted human being by season 7, and he's like getting married and having kids. Like, he had this really great ending, like. And the narcissism was totally quelled, and it's not like he was really young in the beginning of the show and then he was old by the end of it. Like, the character was probably like 40 when the show began, and then the character's like 48, 49 when the show ends, I guess, or like 45 when the show ends. It's not like he was really young and then like learned his lesson. Like, that wouldn't, I don't know. That's what you would have to assume, is that like he got older and wiser. But it's like, that's not the way it works in real life. I'm saying somebody who is that far gone, a narcissist, but at the age of 38 is not gonna ever get better. It's just like, that's not those people. It's funny because and here's why it's funny. Here's why, and it's a funny thing. believe you me. It's funny because like Michael Scott that he would get better. That he would it's funny because people who will laugh at Michael Scott, but they'll hate the same thing in real life. The person that's like that in real life, you have no control over them. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't, thanks to this show, anybody who like hates narcissism gets to see these narcissistic characters like Michael Scott and Dwight Schrute and Andy Bernard, and they're just kind of like completely controllable in this environment on the TV show because you see them getting screwed over you see that they're like, these flaws that make them narcissistic are destroyed over time, so to speak. Or it's like they all sort of have, well, I mean, they don't all have a positive ending, but they all live in this show, this controlled environment where like the viewer gets to make it that narcissists are controllable. It's just like, people will laugh at Michael Scott, but when you see that same thing in real life, you're gonna hate it. Because in real life, Michael Scott is just an asshole and he stays that way, and he doesn't get any better, and everybody hates him the entire rest of his life. I'm saying people can't change. That's a message that we need to hear more of. I wonder, like, liberal or conservative? Obviously, liberals are the ones that are supposed to think that change happens the most. So that's one of the things that I thought of, that I had preordained that I would talk about. Or I just wanted to talk about it briefly. That same thing, and that same guy in real life is just like stays hated. It's like stays socially unacceptable. But in the TV show, it's like all the characters grew to love him at the end. That doesn't make any sense because they're like, but it's a fake environment that's presented, and it's very fun and fictional. It's very fake. The Office. I mean, I know it like looks like it's like, oh, this is slice of life or whatever. It's totally fake and fictional and fun. It's The Office because that group of characters, I mean, whatever. It's fictional for, it's just so fictional because all of those people together staying in the same office that many years and then all of them having like a collective happy ending it's like, you would only see that many people staying in the same place in like a church, maybe. I don't know. I mean, obviously people filter in and out of a church more than they do in a cast, that they do in the show The Office. But like regular offices obviously don't work like that. But that they all have like, that they all have a collective happy ending. And yes, March Madness. Here's who I picked for March Madness. Here's my Final Four, even though I've made very many brackets, very many Final Fours, because I'm a Renaissance man, you know. 'Cause I just have a way with brackets where I can make a bunch of them and then like make a bunch of different ones. I'm an not aficionado. The word I'm looking for is Shridize, whatever is some, whatever. I guess I can't think of that word. This is just a game of like, not being overly, excited so as to turn off the audience, recording yourself for an hour. Like, I don't know what it is. It's like, you have to be likable, and, being likable is total, at least talking for an hour in a row. Like here I'm sharing my thoughts. It has to be like you depend on me and I'm like totally confident the whole time. So it's like a fun, so like I'm doing all the work. That's what people want. And that's what happens with the Office, is like they do all the work. Michael Scott does all the work to look like an idiot so you can feel better about your life for not looking like that much of an idiot. And That's what it's like if I wanted to be more successful with the things I do, I have to say things that are incorrect a lot. I have to say things that are wrong. Like posting on X is not about being truthful. It seems like truthful only gets you so far. Like you have to post things that are sort of incorrect for people to like comment and hate you for it. You have to be like wrong a little bit. But it's just like I don't know. You have to be right and wrong. You can't be like totally right all the time. I usually like win in arguments, whatever. Yesterday on X, I'll tell you this, I lost an argument, and it's because I posted something for fun. Some guy said something about, I can't explain it, but basically what I commented, somebody commented under what I commented, and they said, there's no way a real person wrote this. And the comment that I made had like 1 like, and their comment that said that had like 23 likes. And that pisses me off when somebody is getting more likes than I am on a comment, when it's obvious like, oh, their comment was better because how many more likes did they get from your comment? When they're commenting on my comment to make it look dumb. And that's not fair. I wanted the likes, so I lost that argument because they got so many more likes than me, and that was obvious. But the obviosity of it, like likes, the obviosity of likes, folks, the obviosity of it, that it's there, that it surfaces, that it's visible, like visibly. Now we have proof, evidence that somebody likes this, or like that content is more visible. It's worth being more visible. The more people like it automatically. So it's like, it's really like likes show you the truth as far as the internet is concerned. It's not really like whatever is liked the most is actually true. It's just that's the way that the world treats it, or at least that's how America treats it. It's that the way that America treats it is the way that America likes to treat it is that there's no reason to not be completely ridiculous in real life. Besides that, you don't want to look like a dork or a moron. It's just that, like, you know how idiotic it would be if when I'm delivering packages for Amazon, which I do, I drive around in my car. Yeah, I do. And then I drive, beep, beep. One of those. It's not really like that. I'm usually just like straight-faced. For some reason, I do like to do this thing sometimes that whenever a person comes around, I just act completely differently. That's why it's easier for me to be animated when I'm alone here. And, but, fuck. I was making the point that, I was saying that you can be completely ridiculous. And that's why I dressed up in this shirt. When I was just wearing a t-shirt before, why don't I just wear a suit for this? Why don't I just wear whatever the fuck? Because it's already ridiculous. The life is already ridiculous. But like, I can't be idiotic going to somebody's door delivering a package because one, they might give me a bad review, like, oh, you look unprofessional. Like, let me incorporate my style while I'm working. I don't see a problem with it, but other people would. You'd be like, the fucking guy was going like this, walking back from after delivering the package. You can't, but in real life, there's no reason that you can't. Like, as far as real life is concerned, in real life, anybody can do any wacky bullshit thing. That's real life. is that you have the opportunity to go to veer completely off course from what would normally be done. That's real life. But it's like anytime you veer off course, people call it fake. And, but likes are, what I'm saying is this story about how the person commented on my Twitter comment and called me a fake, this, and then got very many likes. It's like, we treat likes like they're, the truth. And look, guy, I'm not a fake, all right? But it's like, I'm so sensitive that when somebody comments on Twitter, it can be anybody, anywhere, for any comment I make, and it's just some stranger I've never met, and they're like, there's no way a real person wrote this, and they said there's no way a real person typed this out, because I put something ridiculous. And my comment is a billion times more interesting than his bullshit, easy, convenient thing that he remarked just to get all the NPCs on his side that hate fiction, that hate ridiculous things. People that hate ridiculous things saw my comment, they're like, I wish that we could find a way to hate this guy, and then the one guy commented and he just became a lightning rod in this temporary situation that happened online yesterday. And so then because he got all the likes, I'm like, oh shit, I'm a real guy. Like, a real person did type that out. Like, I forgot that I was real. Like I have to prove to myself, oh, like a real guy really typed that out. Because it's like, this must just be a prevailing criticism, is to call people like, oh, you're not even a real person. Because of this very literal world we live in. And literal is what I used to describe the woke mind virus. The woke mind virus is people taking words literally. Instead of ever accepting sarcasm, they're like, oh no, you said this, you don't mean that, you're joking, or like, that's not even real. Even to the point of, you say a comment that's a joke, and now you're not a real person. Like, the person behind it is saying fake things all the time now, because you said one joke, whatever. It's like, I'm not upset that the guy got more likes than me or anything like that, but, I mean, who cares? Like, I don't care, I moved on, and no, but anyway, you just keep commenting the things. But I had to think about, like, likes are the truth, even though in reality that's not true, right? Likes are the truth. I'm saying, like, the truth doesn't matter. It's just about getting likes. Like, you have to be fake to get likes, because likes are that much more fake than what the truth is. Like, likes are different from the truth. They're so much different from... They're enough different from the truth. The amount of fake that you have to be is as much as likes are different from the truth. You have to be fake. You have to be real in order to strike that middle ground that people like it. Or you'll get the most likes. You get the most likes in the middle ground. If you're okay. If you're okay with being okay. I'm not okay with being okay, but I have to pretend that I am. You have to play the game. I have to pretend, because in order to get all the votes from all the mid-ass people that love okay, that love that okay life, they're like, we're all okay. All those fucking people that liked that guy's comment who said, this is not a real person, type this out. My comment was a billion times better than his bullshit thing, because his was so easy. And he's just like, he's just getting all these literalist people on his side. I don't know. It's not, it's like a joke that he's making. It's actually probably funny, but that's like funny. That's what's so horrible, is that if you're a comedian, you have to get likes, you have to get laughs, you have to get visible, evidential, like, oh yeah, as a result of what you said, the response was this, evidentially laughs. That's the way that that's the way that shit works on the internet. And so it's not about saying the truest thing. It's not about saying things that, like, it's not about like having integrity or anything like that. It's not about being accurate to get the likes, to get the laughs. It's really just about, it's just about like being transcendent. It's about like saying those things that like give people that fun, magical feeling. That it's like, oh, something different is happening. Music, like Pink Floyd, is the ultimate band of like capturing that musical feeling. You know, that's entirely what they did. It's like their live concerts and whatever it is. They're bull crap. The laughs, it's about being transcendent. Pink Floyd, Pink fucking Floyd did that whole thing where they're like the power of music, like the dark side of the moon. Everyone's like, people love to listen to Pink Floyd and like feel that magical feeling. I mean, that's the way that it is with all music. Like Greta Van Fleet just kind of sings about the glory of music. Like that's the topic of their songs. And then it's like the song Heat Above is just so like all about the glorious majesty of the sound of music. Like, oh, look at this sound is that transcendent sound. You don't know what I'm talking about probably, but like I'm saying that funny feeling, and it is it's what Bo Burnham was describing, I believe, in his song That Funny Feeling. I mean, no, as a creator, it's different from somebody listening. Like, as a creator, I'm describing my own experience, like, the funny, transcendent feeling. That's what I'm trying to capture. And it's just like confidence in something. When you see somebody who's like transcendently talented, sometimes the talent goes away, or it's like a few years later that some lower level or something. It goes up and down for people, even the best among us, at being entertaining or whatever. It'll like go down over the years, it'll go back up, because like talent doesn't last forever. You have to find confidence in something. You have to find belief in something. It has to be anchored in something. You have to like believe in something better than yourself. And for Christian people, that's like God, Christianity. For people in the world, I think that they just have to come up with some bullshit. I think they have to, like if you're not religious, you have to come up with some bullshit to find something to be confident in. Like yourself, yeah. People in the world are like, I find confidence in myself, sure. But it's like, that's not enough. It has to be anchored. Something like, but you have things like LSD and mushrooms, and those are just like protected knowledge banks, protected knowledge bases, where it's similar to God or a religion. LSD is like a religion. People that use LSD enough treat it like it's God, the same way Christians treat God, where it's like you find confidence in LSD. You find confidence in drugs. And you can do that. And it's like, obviously they're really stigmatized. Like LSD is, we've all decided that there's something evil behind it, that it's like, oh, you don't want to do too much of that. But it's really just that popular groups hate the LSD group as like it's a threat to their confidence base, their knowledge, the thing that they're putting their confidence in. Religious groups don't want any threats to their collective narratives, like the collective narrative of all Muslims, the collective narrative of all Christians, where they like try to base their story in some common thing. They don't like the collective story of like LSD users. It's just that LSD or mushrooms get a lot of hate because they're alternative knowledge bases, and people just hate things that aren't popular. And it's because there aren't enough people doing it. It's only about popularity. It's not about, I'm telling you right now, LSD, it's not that it's bad. It's not that it's shitty for you. It's like the extent that it's shitty for you is just like, It's not bad for you. Do LSD. Yeah, it's fun. Look at me. Look at my life. Don't you want to be more like this? It's just like the Bible describes the gift of singleness or whatever. It's just people are like, it's not about that LSD like ruins your life. It's just that it puts you on this different plane. I mean, it puts you into this different belief system where it's like you get your belief out of that. And that's alternative enough from the popular groups of the world that it puts you at a disadvantage. Like it is shitty. It's shitty because a lifetime of being part of alternative groups is more difficult. It's easier when your story is already made for you, when you have your story straight. Your story is straight more easily the more people that have the same story as you. And so that's why smoking weed is like entering a horror movie, is because it's like entering a horror movie because it puts you on a different place than the default place that most of the people in the world are in. It's because you're forced to... fuck that. You don't want to hear about me talking about drugs, because I wouldn't go into the specifics of it, because I don't want to harm myself with knowledge that I'm giving away, like that I'm recording and putting on the internet. I'm trying to protect myself, so I can't go into the specifics of drugs, and that's why talking about drugs is difficult. Be careful what you put on camera, I guess. Terrified. I'm terrified. It's always like, what would your loved ones think? Or what would... But it's like, it's always like... And your loved ones just suck because they're like... They're trying to make you part of the same story. Like, once you get old enough, it's harder and harder to change, because all of the people that you formed all the relationships with are trying to make your story good along with their story, because if you spend enough time with somebody, you're inevitably weaving your story in with theirs, and then they're like obligated to make it so that your story is good too, even if they don't want to. And it's crazy because some people are horror stories. Some people just individually, that's what they're propagating. That's what they're putting out into the world. Is their life just kind of is like a horror story, and then because they are I'm maybe a little like this. I don't think I'm a ton like this, but there are people that they skew horror pretty hard. It's not just that they skew it, it's that their life generally is a horror story, the same way like we have the capability of writing fictional horror stories, the same as you see in TV and movies. Some of it is like people are like that. Like there's just as much evil in the world as there is good. And some people, they are propagating horror stories as they walk through life, as they meet people, and then they're influencing other people's lives to be a horror story also just by proximity, just by being around them and having a story. Each individual person has a story, sort of, even though some people have more power of narration based on authority that they've obtained in order to say that their story is better. Because it's the same way one road will cut off another road. It's the same as that. It's the same as when one road cuts off another road. God, it's the same. I mean, roads are kind of like rivers, where sometimes they end in like a court, and that court is like a river delta that gives the strength of the river to the rest of the road for as long as the rest of the road is. I'm saying like sometimes the road will end in like the court that is of the same title. And then that's where you know that like, oh, this is where the road died and whatever. I mean, like roads are like rivers, but oh shit, what was I saying before? Roads are like I lost my train of thought when I was like, oh, a road ends in a court. I lost my fucking train of thought to say something so much more worthless than what I was going into. And that's the thing is, like, you have to spit it out. You have to say the most important thing to begin with so that you're actually saying it. So you make sure you say it. Because it's like a lot of times on this podcast, I'm trying to fill an hour and then I go into the lesser improbable bullshit to describe my point that nobody wants to fucking hear. If I had just attacked the issue directly, if I had gone with the most probable event to begin with, then we wouldn't be in this situation. Where this situation is, I'm not optimizing the amount of views I can get because people hear the lesser probabilities before they hear the main thing that I want to say. And this is my biggest fucking flaw in life, is that I explore so many possibilities and I explore the bullshit ones before the good ones. And I waste so much time doing that. It's just like, say it. That's the point. And that's what I'm telling you to do. Say the thing you want to first. Don't go with the thing that is less likely to begin with. And I don't know if you do that, but I definitely do it. And it ruins my life. Not that it ruins it that much, but it makes it worse than it has to be. Make it easy on yourself. Facilitation, facilities. Make it easy on yourself. I mean, it's kind of life. It just like progresses in this make it easier on ourselves fashion collectively as humanity. So it would be better if you aligned yourself with that the way that humanity progresses. It progresses to make things easier. Like popular music is not to the point where everybody can make the songs that sound popular that people like now. Everybody can make it just at their home on their computer. It didn't used to be like that. The world progresses to make things easier. The internet makes everything more convenient. Facilitation. What the internet facilitates for all of us. That it comes to all of us in our homes or whatever. Now you don't have to go as far. It's just like things, I mean, whatever. Technology makes things easier, right? We used to have to fucking hunt antelopes as like cavemen, Neanderthal, gorilla types as humans, and before we were humans, and we used to have to just like hunt and eat and whatever, and everything was fucking hard as shit. But yeah, now it's not. But it's like the game of talking for an hour is one of like never getting high on yourself or whatever. Or never being like, I don't know what it is. It's the same as being funny. Is like, it's like never making it like, oh, this is serious. Never making it like, no, I have a good thing to say. This is a good point. That's the game of being funny. Is like never take yourself seriously. Like I can try to take myself seriously for a minute. Like, oh, this is a thing that I'm saying and people want to hear it. Like, oh, wow, I've captured some momentum here. The identification is the worst. Identifying yourself. Never identify yourself. And you will be funny. But you have to, but it's like you have to identify yourself. I don't know. I made a podcast called Identity. And what ultimately it serves to make fun of identities. But I do find the value in consistency. I'm not a monster. Fuck. I still am wishing I knew what I was fucking saying about rivers. What did I say? Like roads are. I said roads are something, and then I got enamored with that roads are rivers. But I said like roads are. When one road cuts off another road. Is like how people's stories, that's it. So how people's stories cut off each other. They branch out that way. I'm saying some people have more the power of narration. And it's like when one road dead ends into a road. Like one highway, two highways are going like this and getting closer all the time. And then one of them like dead ends into the stronger one. That's roads. Narratives are the same way among people. The roads are like individual people, where each road is one individual person narrating their story, and the story is so important. The story is, it's like almost always more transcendent than us. Like, I don't know how you can transcend the stories. That's why I'm describing it as a story. That's why I'm saying like a person is a story. So a person is a narrative. And this is similar to roads, that metaphor. A person is a narrative, and then some people are like horror stories, and they're just like, they're influencing other people's lives to be horror stories if they're powerful enough of a person, and and they're horror story kind of person. And just like everybody has a different flavor of story that they're doing. It's not just like the words that you say, or like, or like the titles. It's not just like the title, the kind of jobs you got, and the person that you married, and whatever. It's a flavor. It's a character. It's like a color scheme. I mean, like it's a genre. There are very many different categories that you could call whatever your story is. But some people have greater presence, and they have greater strength of narrative, and they're just gonna like overwhelm the narratives of lessers around them. But I was watching a sermon that Jim Jones was doing a couple months ago online. Jim Jones, the guy who got all the people to kill themselves with him in South America, the cult leader. And he was talking about condescending saviors. And the more I think about that term, the more that I can't stop thinking about it. I've never heard anybody say that. He was preaching against condescending saviors to his congregation before he moved to South America, like when he was still in California. There's a sermon online that I was watching. He was like, do not listen to condescending saviors and whatever else. He was preaching against them. Like the ones, condescending saviors in the world that are liars. Even though it's like Jim Jones is like the ultimate condescending savior, because he's a savior to his congregation entirely. He's the savior, but he's like just a condescending guy. But he's like, Jim Jones is, I think he mentions that these are pastors that he's talking about, but like his competition. He's like, pastors, it seemed like that's what he was describing. These are like condescending saviors. Jesus Christ is the most condescending savior, but because he did it first and did it the best, you wouldn't really describe it that way. But I'm like, oh shit, am I a condescending savior? I think anytime you're sort of getting into the territory of being like a pastor of a church, you're a condescending savior. At least for me, I feel like identifying yourself is where you go wrong. Because like, it's like being spontaneous, but never, it's just like, no, you can't follow that train of thought you were already saying, because it sucks. Everything I'm saying sucks. It's just, the only thing that makes it good is like, that I didn't think it was good. That's what being funny is about. Not necessarily being successful. It's like being funny is about, because the funniest comedians like put out new specials every year. I would say the funniest ones nowadays definitely are not identified, they're unidentified. Louis C.K. has such an unidentified style. I would say he's the funniest stand-up. He has a style that's very unidentified, because he comes out with an hour's worth of new material. He comes out with a new hour special every single year. That's what unidentified is. He would be identified if he had the same act. He's like this act and did this same consistent thing over and over. But this is just like a fight in comedy. This is a fight in everything in life, between the identified and the unidentified. But the funniest comedians nowadays, like Mark Normand, would be the same way. It comes out with a new hour. The funniest comedians nowadays don't rely on a consistent act. But like Jerry Seinfeld is more identified than Mark Normand or Louis C.K. because he keeps his material around for longer, according to him. He's more identified than other other comedians, but like he's more old school. He's a little bit older, and I think that that's the way that things progress most of the time. Maybe every time is that they go from identified to unidentified. Not exactly. I would say I'm saying over time, how do things progress chronologically? What's an objective way that we can organize things that we're like, this is how things happen over time. A better argument for it, this is how things happen over time, is they go from a collective to an individual, I think. I think that that's how time works. That's how the Bible worked. The Old Testament was about the Jews as a collective. The Old Testament is about the Jews as a collective. And then by the time you get to the New Testament is about one Jew specifically. That's how things go over time. They go from the collective to the individual. And the Bible is maybe the best example of this. The New Testament was about one Jew. But it's like music does the same thing we see. Because music in the 60s and 70s was all about bands. And then over time it became about individuals. There's some bands that over time they went from band to individual. Like No Doubt was a band and then over time became an individual. Panic at the Disco, essentially the same thing, was a band, but then over time just became about one individual. It's like chronologically things become decentralized. That's what I'm saying. That's how it works every time. Things go from centralized to decentralized. Things go from identified to unidentified. Spread out. Same as a stem cell. Same as a cell that creates a baby. The original cell, it starts with one original cell and then those cells become decentralized over time, chronologically. That's how it always is. Starts centralized, becomes decentralized. That's the same with money. It's the same with everything because you have to start with one example. And when you start with one example, things are very identified. And then anybody creates more examples of it, and they only would if this was a important area or like a popular area of life, that somebody wanted to make more examples, more interpretations of it. If there was energy behind it, people would try to make more of them. But it's just like the initial thing becomes decentralized over time. Even if it's your experience doing something, drinking alcohol. It's like you start off with one experience of like getting drunk or whatever, and then you have more data, you have more experiences with this over time, and then it eventually just becomes decentralized, like what your experiences are with alcohol, because you've had so many different individual ones. But I guess I use that to say that a lot of it operates off of what your original experience was. Like probably the first 2 times you get drunk will be better than any other time you get drunk. Probably works that way for everybody. Yeah, it probably does. Yeah. Yes, it probably does. I don't even know. So the fewer people that I'm trying to cater to with my messages, the more sporadic and more carefree that I can be, the more charismatic that I can be. I can be more charismatic the less that I'm trying to tailor my message to 1 or 2 individuals that I'm thinking about. If I'm not beholden to my family and friends, I can do whatever I want. And but it's always like, consider your loved ones and their stories and you don't want to be doing this because think about what your loved ones will think. Think about what your loved ones will think about that. But my loved ones should love me for whatever it is that I do, and there's like, don't be holding me back when I capture some positive energy in my life. And let me give you this opinion about the Quiet on Set documentary about how Nickelodeon in the 90s and how behind the scenes it's disgusting. Let me give you this opinion, and this is a valuable opinion. And Here it is, and I will face it head on rather than go into the lesser probabilities to begin with. When something is disgusting, like Dan Schneider and Nickelodeon in the 90s and the shit that they let him put on the air, you don't go more into it. You don't like, why would you go into when things are disgusting, you don't break down the specifics of what happened. Like, remember, disgusting things are like, we've tried to forget about them. But in this case, with this documentary, Quiet on Set, we're like, let's go and expose all the nuances of this very disgusting thing that happened. And it's wrong. It's almost as wrong as what happened in the first place. Them putting this shit on the air is just as bad as them making a documentary to unearth all of it and summarize all of it into a thing. They summarize all the most disgusting moments of Nickelodeon in this documentary, and they're like, see, now here all of it, now we can see all of it in one place. What a useful technology that we've made with this documentary. It's like, that's not what you do when things are disgusting. If you were really disgusted by it, you would just forget about it. You would try to bury this, not like expose it in this big dramatic HBO thing for the nation. And it's like, why wouldn't you just make a documentary about how talented Amanda Bynes was? Because she was so talented when she was a kid. Why wouldn't you just make a documentary about how great she was? It's because of horror stories. It's because of, I'm telling you, watch out for the people in your life that are horror story, have a bent, horror story kind of person. Because there's a lot of people like this out there, you see, because there's millions of views for every commercial airplane crash that's ever happened. There's millions of views on YouTube for the video that recounts the exact tale. There's millions of views for Snapped, when a wife murders her husband. Tragic story, murders, kidnappings. God, people love it. God, people love when people die. How much that they consume horror entertainment, like real life tragedies. And there are so many of these people out there that you're not going to make a documentary about like, Amanda Bynes was so talented. How did that happen? Like, she's amazing. It's like, look at this gross, horrible, secret thing that surrounded her talent. Like, that's what they make a documentary about. What would be so hard about saying that it was, like, why wouldn't you just focus on how great things were, or whatever? It's because people want, it's like more interesting, the unique thing. But it's part of a broader point I'm making where it's like, people love to shit on child stars. Like, Amanda Bynes' life went to shit, she went crazy, and all of us benefit from, we're like, now we all, the people that like to perpetuate that are holding on to something negative and something mean. People are very mean when they're like, wow, child stars, I mean, their lives go to shit. That's the problem. So the problem is making a documentary and saying like, these kids' lives sucked, whatever. Like, they were famous and whatever at the time. And yeah, it doesn't work out for them that well. I don't know. It's not like things are so horrible for them now. They only are if they're like living in the past and they're like, I'm trying to move on from it. Like Drake Bell made this music video apparently within the past week where he's like, I'm moving on from the past or whatever. And it's just like, no, not if you're making whatever. Not if you're making content that's directly like that. Just like talk about something else. If that's not your life anymore, find a way to not make it that. Find a way to narrate something else. So now I'm criticizing him too. But like, I'm saying the problem, people always are like, what's the whole deal with like, child stars, and then they get screwed up when they're older. The problem is all of the people after the fact that narrate it, that their lives suck. Their lives don't suck. Everybody's life sucks, you know? Their life just sucked at in different proportions than most people. everybody's life is horrible. The problem is like that people don't look back and say like look at the positive thing, like we found out about this person's talent or whatever. The positives that happen. People love to narrate the horror to be like, oh yeah, but it's collectivizing types of people that love to narrate horror into the lives of single individual people that don't have the power of narration. Collectivized people always like to make it that individuals, I'm saying as somebody who's not married, okay, this is a personal agenda against me, and it's not really that way. The people that know me do like me, and I do believe that. I'm not against them. They love me, and that's great. I love them. I don't really like the word love, but I don't like, love is very suffocating. I don't, but there are people that I love and whatever it is. But as somebody who's single, I would say it's that people that are part of more group mentality or have the benefit of being part of a religious group narration have the ability, are like, look at single people and they're like, oh, they're depressed or their life is horrible or they should be suicidal because obviously their life is depressing if they have to rely on themselves for all of it. This is just how things play out. These are the storylines people like. The local news caters to group types of people or just like family oriented people and then the local news hates the fucking living shit out of single people, and they're always making up stories about like, single people are creeps or they have to be sexual predators or whatever. Individual people, the local news fucking hates single people, and they're making it so that the rest people just, when people have the power of narration, it's all a big competition, but you want to be on the side of the group people that have the greatest power of narration so that you can look at people that don't have as many resources, individual people that are trying to make their own individual narratives. You can look at those people and be like, their life is shitty, and that kind of becomes the narration, the more people that believe it, because it's just the popular narrative that wins, and everything is just popularity. Get a load of that. Get a load of my left shoulder and this arm that extends behind me. Like I was able to be funny probably the first 40 minutes, but I feel like I'm losing that energy because I'm lying to myself. When something's disgusting, you're not like, let's see what that disgusting thing was and talk more about it. Because it just makes the writers, now you're bringing these writers on camera in this documentary, making them look like idiots because Dan Schneider had them doing bullshit things because he's like pervert. You don't, and it's just like the problem is when you go and say like, oh wow, how horrible all of it was. It wasn't that horrible. It's just disgusting. It's completely disgusting. I'm not going to talk about it anymore because I don't want to end up being the same thing that, I mean, I'm a good person. People that make documentaries like that, they're not, I don't know what gets into somebody's mind that you would try to put that level of evil out into the world. As long as I'm not anchoring, like I'm tailoring this message to, it's got to be decentralized if you want to be funny, because that's the most futuristic, and it's those futuristic things that give people that transcendent ass feeling. And so I'll drive around in my truck for like 10 hours a day and think about whatever the fuck. And the other day, maybe 2 days ago, I was just thinking about like, what is the transcendent feeling? What do I got to do to capture it more as I'm getting older, as I'm losing the natural ability to manifest it and articulate that transcendent feeling, or whatever. Allegedly, you get older. Some people get better as they get older. Some people are late bloomers. at being like talented or whatever, sharing their message. Some people get better as they get older. And I'm like, what do I need to do more of to really, like, what is that, what is it that I would be doing to capture that transcendent feeling? And I'm like, I get a transcendent feeling. I can't. My conclusion was like, I need to yell more. I need to yell. I need to get on camera and just like scream out in anger the things. Because this is just a territory that people aren't utilizing. This is a territory that people aren't exploiting for financial gain. Because everyone's like, people think it's like cringy to be angry and to yell. So I'm not angry enough to yell at whatever it is today. And let me tell you this. Let me tell you this here in closing. No. Maybe I'll save it. I was like, I need to yell. I need to be visibly angry, because I can get to that place. I can get to that place. Sometimes dominant is just your capacity for anger. Who can be angry the best? If you can't be as angry as somebody else, then they beat you. Not that they have to be like yelling, screaming angry. It's just like, if you can call out somebody else's anger and be like, you're not angry. That's the most dominant action that you can do. That's the most like, I'm better than you thing that you can do. Just be like, your anger doesn't matter because it's anchored in something stupid. So I just need to yell. I need to get angry. I'm saying like, what are just the small little things I can do on my podcast or whatever to make it so that I'm more transcendent or whatever. Or like this, like in order to defeat, like, am I just getting older and I don't have the energetic things to say anymore, where it's like, oh, it was really exciting before, but now, Jesus, I just got to get out of, it. So I just got to be able to veer off so I can, and it's just the woke mind virus of literalism. People take words so literally. They want to entrench you in those pathways that everybody else is stuck on. They want to be like, well, you said it like this, and so that means that you have to stay within those boundaries of the thing that you said, legalism, literalism, so that when you veer off or do something fictional, like, the transcendentness comes with you doing something organically ridiculous, something that people can agree is ridiculous. I don't know if it's just like, always do something to keep them on their toes that they haven't seen before. It's just like, this is so nothing. This is so nothing. Everything in life is so nothing. I think that it's so to the point that it's like, what is the lowest the bar can be? That like, oh no, I'm doing something, I record myself for an hour. I don't really know why I ever stopped doing it, because this is just fun if you allow it to be fun. If I don't make it about like the stories of my love, I'm saying don't make it about the people around you probably want you to succeed. So don't be like, oh, I shouldn't do this because they'll think that I suck or whatever. And whatever it is, be yourself and don't be yourself. Identify the unidentified things. Become that might make your life more beneficial. Or if you don't want that transcendent feeling, you just want things to be very simple and straightforward, don't try to capture the energy of the areas in life where you veer off to be a part of it or whatever. Thank you. Talk to you later, and bye.